போட்டுட்டே இருக்கணும் அது. ஹலோ. Thank you all. Am I audible? Okay. Jai Hind to you all. Thanks for your nice words. Honorable Chief Guest, His Excellency Engineer Sheikh Salem bin Sultan Bil Saka Al Khazmi, Chairman of Civil Aviation Department and Ras Al Khaimah Airport. Guest of the honor, His Excellency Dr. Aman Puri ji, Honorable Consul General of India in Dubai. Speaker of the day, Sri Sunny Narang ji. Chairman CA Sundar Nurni ji. Vice Chairman CA Anurag Chaturvedi ji. Secretary CA Harikrishan Rankavat ji. Treasurer CA Manoj Agarwal ji. Galaxy of past chairmen, guests, sponsors, members and families of the ICAI Dubai chapter, ladies and gentlemen, my greetings and best wishes to you all on the occasion, on the auspicious occasion of the 75th Independence Day of India. For me, we all call India as Mother India. For me, I also celebrate this day as the 74th birthday of my mother, our mother. It is with that sentiment I am standing in front of you today. I feel greatly honored and privileged to be invited to speak on this occasion to such an august gathering, and I thank the ICAI Dubai chapter for this opportunity. As all the speakers mentioned, we thankfully remember our freedom fighters, the martyrs, brave martyrs who sacrificed their lives, not only to get us freedom, but continue to maintain it. Even we salute those soldiers who are going through extreme hardship in very difficult terrain and very harsh climatic conditions. On behalf of all of you, I salute all of them. Let us not forget the Veer Naris, as we call them, that is the widows and the children of the soldiers who are martyred. We are indebted to you all. I mentioned that India is our mother. Let us take a pledge today that we won't do anything to hurt her, endanger her, or shame her, and we will do everything possible to keep our mother happy. We will protect her, we will look after her, and make her feel proud of her children always. India, as we are all aware, was free long ago. But vested interest foreigners divided and exploited the local rulers to take away the freedom from us. And it is that lost freedom that we regained on 15th of August 1947. In fact, it is not in our culture to attack anyone, any foreign countries, or capture an inch of foreign soil. It has never happened. But we responded and will continue to respond strongly if someone else tries this stand with us. The world is aware of that. Let me tell you, we got freedom 75 years back. We are free. We are politically free. We can go anywhere. We have the freedom of speech, freedom of education, freedom of worship. We can own properties in India, but we need to continue our struggle within the nation to ensure that we have freedom from corruption, violence, intolerance, greed, discrimination, misery, poverty, etc. We all have great responsibility towards this. From that angle, we all are freedom fighters. We will have to continue this struggle. Mind you, freedom is not mine alone or yours alone. Other fellow citizens also have equal freedom. We have no right to obstruct their freedom. That's where your tolerance comes into play. As chartered accountants, you create money for us to fight. You all mean a lot to us. Thank you very much, and we are all proud of you. I am told to speak on leadership, lessons from armed forces. Let me start by recollecting a joke which I heard when I joined army. Two generals, retired generals, were having a drink at the bar, and one asked the other, "Sir, why did you join army?" He said, "I was single and I loved war." And he asked in return, "Sir, why did you join army?" He said, "I was married and I loved peace." Of course, in 1987, I was single. I hated war. Even today, I hate war. But then I still joined army. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you one thing very clear. We all are born in this earth. We have to die one day. When? No one knows. How are we going to die? No idea. Tomorrow morning, I or you may not be there. How do we want to die? Heart attack, COVID, snake bite? We don't know. But if the God asks me, "Padmanabhan, I am very happy with you. Of course you have to die, but then I will give you the option how you want to die." I can't imagine or think of any better way of death than standing on the border, taking on the bullet on my chest, which otherwise would have hit my mother, and dying or lying down or my life for her. Can you think of a better death? But this kind of fortune is reserved only for soldiers. Of course, we can do it in a different way. So now that is what the difference is. Let me also tell you one thing. Our flag, national flag, flutters not due to the wind flowing, but due to the last breath of the soldiers who laid down their lives for us. Now, to know what military is all about, in a bleak administrative setup or scenario, the sole organization that has not only functioned effectively but also risen to every occasion is the Indian military. Indian soldier remained the standard bearer of constitutional values, discipline, patriotism, secularism, and ethical conduct. In fact, integrity and ethical conduct are very crucial in a war. It is very important that the military remains apolitical and non-partisan. A complete trust in each other is a must in Indian Army. I will just quote one small example. Once I was posted in Kashmir. On one of the situations, I was staying in a tent, and in the evening I came back and had my dinner. My soldier guard, he helped me, and suddenly before I went to sleep, he came in and said, "Saab, I want leave." I said, "What? Operations are going on. Are you mad to ask me leave?" He said, "Saab, वाइफ बीमार है, मुझे जाना है." I asked him, देखो घर में somebody else will be there, they will take care, so don't, I can't, there is no question, and get out from here. I found his eyes turning into red and he went out. I also slept peacefully. Remember, that man has to stand guard to me with a AK-47 in his hand with a disturbed mind. But then that is where trust plays in. He won't shoot at me, I was sure about it, because he knew that I am aware that he has the AK-47, and still I denied leave. So that means I want some important task to be done by this guard. I was sure he won't shoot me. So that is the mutual trust that in spite of having weapon and all, he will understand my compulsions and I will also understand his compulsion. So that trust is very, very important, because once you have gun in your hand, then anything can happen. As a leader, and you have to have this men, have the total trust in you. And you would have heard things like surgical strike and all. I am not going into the details of surgical strike. In fact, you all are aware only about the successful surgical strikes. Actually, I will tell you the spirit behind it. Because surgical strike means you have to enter the enemy territory and destroy the bunker or camp or whatever it is and come back safe after destroying it. Now, I call a Jawan. Okay, tomorrow is the surgical strike or next week is the surgical, you come and this is your task. Now he will think that because in a surgical strike like scenario, 99% or 99.99% your death is confirmed. But still he will go. You know why? Because he has the total trust on me. He will think that if my officer is telling me to go, that means I am very important for these operations and I may go. And why he should deny or refuse? We all are worried about death. What will happen after we die? Who will look after the families? My children, my wife, etc. Now, that is where that relationship comes, because he is sure that his wife and family will take care of his family better than when he was alive. So this is the understanding, or this is the spirit with which such a great operations take place. Now, coming into the leadership in military, you all are seniors and experienced. I need not dwell upon that senior leadership qualities too much. But I will touch upon 3-4 very important points. One is the ability to motivate, the importance of motivation in life. Now, mind you, you are leading your men to death. That means supreme sacrifice. Motivation is the only key. Paltan ka izzat, desh ka izzat, that prestige is what will drive you. Now, you have to know your men very closely. You have to have genuine concern for your men. Then only you can have the motivation ability. I, as an officer, I am confident of my power of motivation. You give me a dead body, there is a 50% chance of I can make the dead body stand. That is what actually army officers, means armed forces officers, are capable of. Second is personal example that you all know. You have to do it before you tell your men to do it. So that is and you have to lead from the front. And we have seen it in Kargil war and other operations, and how young officers have led from the front, even sacrificing their lives. Bikram Batra and Manoj Pandey and all those people. Now, versatility is another important attribute of the military leadership. Now, you see, you have to prepare for the worst. You have the plan B first before you actually plan the event. Now, in the Indian Military Academy, when we were, you start learning about the warfare, we have to brief our men. You know what is the first line they brief? अगर इस ब्रीफिंग के दौरान गोला बारूद होता है तो 1 घंटे के बाद हम इधर से 300 मीटर दूर पीला मकान के पीछे मिलेंगे. You know what does that mean? Because even at that time when you are briefing, a bomb may come. And if suddenly the bomb drops in, then they don't know, total utter confusion. So you first plan that कि अभी bomb गिरने वाला है. Then you give instruction what will happen after that. Then you start. That means you plan for the plan B contingency first. And generally we say, let us hope for the best. But we think the other way around. Let us hope for the worst and get the best. See, because if you are mentally prepared to hope for the worst, then you are prepared for everything else. This is the one important aspect I want to tell you. And we want generalists. You can handle every situation, you can handle anything. We don't want specialists. Probably that is the reason why our leaders are called generals. Flexibility, adaptability, and because what is going to be your next action is going to be decided by your enemy, not you. So then that is the equation when it comes to this kind of unpredictability. Now, huge amount of forethought and planning is another attribute, because there is a saying, if there are 6 options available, the enemy will choose the 7th option. So surprise is the key in any military operations. Risk is very huge. We deal with the lives of our men. We deal with the national security. So when you have a military leader intact or a good military leader, then he must be aware of the risk he is taking. Crisis management. Now, military leaders are trained and highly effective under extreme stress and strain, be it mental or physical. There is the concept of 2 up and 2 down. Now, when I say this, an officer or a commander must know the aims of the 2 commanders up his chain and 2 commanders down the chain. You know why? In the war scenario, your commander may get killed and you may have to assume charge. You may get killed. Your own second in command has to assume charge. So it is important that all are in the same frequency. Teamwork. It's very important that there is no need to dwell upon that. Either the entire team wins or the entire team loses. There is no question of, nobody thinks about themselves actually. We move as a team, work as a team, die as a team, come back as a team, whatever. That is the teamwork. And lastly, a word about the military decision making. You know, at that extreme hardship under a war scenario, you need sound decisions, as there is no runner-up in a war. There is no silver trophy there. A sense of urgency is always there because time is at premium. Uncertainty, ambiguity, fast changing situations, these all affect your decision making. All military tend to take decisions based on fear of failure and not hope of success, because success may or may not get rewarded, but failure surely will get punished. Leaders are supposed to produce leaders better than them. In the Indian Military Academy, when we pass out, that is the day we become officers, we have to pass through a very, very historical famous hall called Chetwood Hall. That Chetwood Hall will have or has the Chetwood motto written there. And Chetwood was a Field Marshal, Philip Chetwood of British Army. It reads like this: the safety, honor and welfare of your country comes first, always and every time. The honor, welfare and comfort of your men comes second, always and every time. And your own ease, comfort and safety comes last, always and every time. We sincerely follow this from the day 1 of becoming officers. Otherwise, you can't be a military leader at all. There is very interesting thing I want to tell you. We may have enemy countries and all, but between soldiers, there is no enmity. See, after all, I am fighting for my country, he is fighting for his country. I am prepared to die for my mother, he is prepared to die for his mother. So why should we have individual or personal enmity or something? Actually, there is a misunderstanding everywhere that, you know, there is nothing like that. So now there are a couple of examples I want to quote. One is in the Kargil war, There was a fight going on somewhere near Tiger Hill, and there was a platoon which was fighting from Pakistan, and we had a commander called Brigadier Bajwa from our side, and he was looking through the binocular. He realized that there was a young man, a young boy leading from the front. He thought that probably he will be an officer, and he told his men, "You kill him." And then it was difficult battle and all. Ultimately, that fellow was shot down by us, and then that portion was captured by us. Now immediately that body was brought in here, and Brigadier Bajwa realized that he is one Captain Karnal Sher Khan of Pakistan, and he fought very fiercely for his country. Brigadier Bajwa immediately took out a piece of paper and wrote down in it, "We salute this young Captain Karnal Sher Khan for his bravery, and he fought very well." And of course, the body was returned to Pakistan, and when the body reached there, they took out this, they found this slip in his pocket. And mind you, if your enemy commander has to salute a fallen soldier, then that Captain Karnal Sher Khan is the winner of Paramveer Chakra equivalent in Pakistan called Nishani Haider. In the Kargil war, they got only 2 people, and one was this Captain Sher Khan, Karnal Sher Khan, and no one knew about it unless they found a slip in the pocket of Karnal Sher Khan written by Bajwa. Now this is the respect we give to each other. Another thing I want to tell you, I don't know how many of you heard about Major General Ian Cardozo, retired. Now he is in Delhi. He is around 84, 85 years old. Now he was from 5 Gorkha Rifles. In the 1971 war, he landed on a landmine and his right leg got totally blasted. It has to be immediately amputated. But there was no morphine, there was no painkillers available. But if the blasted leg continues, then there will be gangrene and there will be serious threat to his life. What this, at that time, Major did, he took out that kukri, a bent knife sort of thing, and cut his leg out. And there was no medical thing coming up from our side. And people, Pakistanis whom we captured at that time, that had one Major Muhammad Bashir, who was a doctor from Pakistan side. That surgeon came and operated him and set him right. And Ian Cardozo went on to become Major General in Indian Army because he was a battle casualty and he retired. He got a biography written. If possible, kindly read it. Now, this story I told because of the bravery of this Ian Cardozo. And also, look at this. The Major Muhammad Bashir, whom we were trying to kill, he is captured alive and he is doing a successful operation of our Major Saab. Now, this is the equation between us. Now, you would have heard about Arun Khetrapal, Paramveer Chakra, Second Lieutenant Arun Khetrapal. Now, there is an interesting story. Khetrapal was, martyred 1971 war in a fierce tank battle. Years later, his father, Brigadier Khetrapal, ML Khetrapal, wanted to, because they were basically from Pakistan, he wanted to visit his village in Pakistan. He took permission, he went there, and somehow, without him knowing, there was a serving brigadier called Khwaja Muhammad Nasir, who took charge of Brigadier Khetrapal, and he kept him in his own house, looked after him, took him around all the places, and on the last night before Brigadier Khetrapal returned, that fellow said, "Sir, your son was a great soldier, and I was on the other side, and we were fighting, and only we two were there. He was firing from his tank, I was firing from my tank, and sir, as an army man, one has to die. And your son died, I shot him, and he breathed his last in my lap. A big salute to you, sir, because you as a father, you groomed him and, to fight for this thing at the age of 21, Khetrapal. And Khetrapal returned, and a thank you post was given to us. Now, these are the internal feelings of soldiers, and I will be failing in my duty if I don't talk about Yogendra Singh Yadav, Paramveer Chakra, who is still alive, who is still serving. Incidentally, a good news for you all, he has been promoted as the honorary captain of Indian Army today. He was a normal Sipahi, aged only 19 and half at the time of Kargil war. Now this boy was part of the 18 Grenadiers contingent who was given the task to capture Tiger Hill during the Kargil war. Now he was just hardly 1 month into his marriage. Anyway, the story is very long. But then he went there, and the Pakistanis were occupying, the enemies were occupying the tops of Tiger Hill, and mind you, 18,000 feet high, minus 50-degree temperature, total darkness. Someone has to crawl up without getting into the attention of Pakistanis, go up and throw a rope down below. Then the platoon or section would have gone up and then evicted the enemies. Now Yadav volunteered for this task, requested to give this task to him, and Yadav somehow crawled up. Shooting coming in, enemies have found him. There are 17 bullets on his body. I happened to be with Yadav a couple of years back. When he opened his shirt, I don't know whether to call it a flute or whatever it is, 17 bullets, and one bullet is still there. And there is a story that one bullet hit him on the heart, and his pocket had a 5 rupee coin there, and this got reflected. Otherwise it would have been 18. And this chap was declared dead, but then luckily he survived. And why I am telling, why Yogendra Singh Yadav is important. Had Yadav not accepted that risk, and had Yadav not gone up with all his fighting spirit there, and had Yadav not thrown that rope down below, the section could not have gone. If the section could not have gone, the enemies could not have been evicted from Tiger Hills. If that is the case, then Tiger Hill we could not have captured. And if Tiger Hill was not captured, we could not have won Kargil war. And if Kargil war was not won by us, you can imagine India would not have been what you and me are seeing today. Now see, is there any importance for Yogendra Singh Yadav? Yesterday I was speaking to the children of the ICAA members. I was asking them, why there is not a photograph of Yogendra Singh Yadav in your house or in your puja room? Because see the effect. He got award as Paramveer Chakra and all those things are there. But had Yadav not taken that responsibility, we would have lost the Kargil war. I say many people, I am not saying Yadav alone. So these are the importance of all these people. Now, a word about, when I say about military leadership, I can't skip our great Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw. Now in the 1971 war, you know, the largest or second largest surrender in the history of war, history of the world, 93 to 95,000 Pakistanis surrendered in front of us, laid down their arms, and there was a huge, prisoner of war camp set up in Calcutta. As chief of Indian Army, Sam Manekshaw used to visit this camp every day for tasting their food, for inspecting their toilets, speaking to them, giving them all the facility. And the head of the Pakistani prisoners of war, he was some Subedar Major ranked officer. He came and told Sam, sir, there is no wonder India has won this, because if they have leaders like you who are concerned for even enemy, then if we had a leader like you, we would have won. So this is all a different level of leadership altogether. We have, you may ask, who is the most decorated soldier ever in Indian Army? There was an officer from 16 Maratha Light Infantry, late Neelakandan Jayachandran Nair. He got martyred in 1993 in Nagaland, and he was awarded Ashok Chakra in 93, and prior to that in 1983 in Mizoram, he was awarded Kirti Chakra. It's because most of the people get Ashok Chakra posthumous. There is no question of getting second one. He was the only one who has been awarded this kind of highest medals twice. Now this is what about that. Now there are a couple of more attributes I want to tell before I finish my talk. One is the secularism part of it. That is we have a, army or Indian armed forces is the perfect example of secular attitude. We don't have a concept of temple, masjid and all. We have a concept of Sarva Dharma Sthal. There is a building which will have 4 or 5 rooms. One will have Hindu deities, one will have Christian arrangement, one will have masjid, one will have Gurudwara, and one will have a plain room where you can go and pray. Now, when you enter, you don't go to Hindu temple and come back. You go and take a round of everything and come out. Now, there is one example. When I was in Srinagar, there was one of my birthdays. I went there to pray offer my prayers to the Lord. I went to the Hindu temple. Unfortunately, the priest was not there. He would have probably gone to the toilet or went to get a cup of tea. But suddenly, the chap who was in the church, Christian church, wearing his all dresses and all, he came in and chanted something, took out Karpur and did the, Deeparadhana, and came to me, offered me prasad. I gave him 50 rupees. He put his hands on my head. Again he was chanting. I don't know whether he was quoting from Bible or Bhagavad Gita or something. But let me tell you, absolutely nothing wrong with me because he did it. That priest is also all right. God is also all right. So what is the problem? In the normal situation, can you imagine this to happen? There will be turmoil total. Now this concept, secularism, must spread like COVID. Because see, secularism means what? You can pray to whomever you want. He can pray. Why have intolerance about what he is doing? You do. That is what is. And I want to quote a small example of when I say about patriotism. Like in the introduction, it was mentioned that I opened NCC in a place called Anini in Arunachal Pradesh. Now, I didn't go to Anini, reaching to Pasighat where I was there, it used to take, plane, train, boat, cycle, gypsy, everything to reach there. And from there, it used to take 4 days to reach Anini. I just went there casually before I get posted out from there. I want to visit. It's a place, it remains cut off almost 6 to 8 months in a year because of avalanches and landslides and all. I went there, I found a school there, government school. I interacted with the principal there. I asked her, would you like me to interact with your children? She said, sir, it will be a great honor. And she immediately collected the 300 odd children there, all 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 classes. And they were all in the audience. And I addressed them. In the end, I asked them, do you want NCC? They all said yes. I'm sure they don't know what is NCC. I asked them, what is NCC? They said, sir, khaki dress and wearing a red hackle here and all those things. I said, because normally it takes 1 year for a school to apply for getting NCC, and then it goes up and then comes sanctioned. Secondly, if you open in Anini, how will I send my staff to train them? That problem is also there. I said, like initially it was said, I said, 3 times I will say Bharat Mata Ki, you say Jai, and if this your Jai reaches the ears of Narendra Modi, I can sanction NCC for you. Mind you, 300 odd children. I said Bharat Mata Ki, that auditorium shook with their Jai. Second time, I said Bharat Mata Ki, I think the entire Anini shook and probably that sound reached Narendra Modi. Third time, because of emotions and sentiments, I couldn't say Bharat Mata Ki, and the Jai was told. And rest is history, because I went to the district collector there or deputy commissioner. From there, I rang up the director general of NCC, that is Lieutenant General Vinod Vasisht. I told him, sir, I am speaking from so-and-so place. I want your permission to start. He said, Padmanabhan, so proud of you, go and start. The documentation can follow. And 1:30, I declared the NCC open in Anini. Now, the importance. Now, you see, there is hardly any infrastructure there. The town remains, cut out for almost 6 months in a year. Electricity, if it goes out, then 5 days there is no electricity. They survive out of frozen foods for weeks together. If this child goes up and he is seeing it in the TV, how comfortably people in Delhi, Bombay, Chennai are all living. And if this boy turns into with a terrorist mentality, to be very frank, I can't blame. Now, on one side, terrorists are, being fought by Indian Army and armed forces in Jammu and Kashmir and Northeast. My aim was to bring these children to mainstream so that, they think that they are part of India, their infrastructure is developed through proper thing. To sum it up, I only say that the very next January 26, Republic Day, 2 children from Anini has gone to Delhi and marched in the Rajpath. I consider it as a great honor for me to have that. And don't you think this is what is national integration all about? So that's what it is. Now time is running out. I just will want to tell only 2 more things. That is, one is, I think the younger generation particularly is undergoing a identity crisis today. Now, as far as I am, this is my personal views. You have to be a human being first. Forget about good human being. You have to be a human being first. If you pass in the test, because you see the paper news and all, do you think the news coming, all those things can be done by human beings? If you are a human being, then your second identity has to be Indian. If this, we have a song in NCC called Hum Sab Bharatiya Hai. If you pass that test also, then the third identity, you are an army officer, you are a chartered accountant, you are from Kerala, you are from so and so, all those identity are third. Let me tell you, if you have only the third identity without these 2 first, it is of no use. In fact, as I always say, education without direction will produce terrorists. They don't know where to go. But whereas, if you don't have a third identity, you are jobless or whatever you are, if your first 2 identities, that is as a human being and as an Indian, if it is intact, then you will continue to serve the nation and you will continue to serve the society around you. Now, as children especially, or as youth, you will have to think, आजकल तो selfie का ज़माना चल रहा है. Now you have to think beyond you, beyond your immediate family, and look toward the society who are not as privileged as you. Now then only you can be called, you can have the right to be called the citizens of India. If you think about yourself, you get a good salary job, you eat well, you feed your wife and children, you feed your parents, that even I think animals will do it. Our human beings, as we are socially. So I say, you have to be useful to the society. My call on this is that you may not be useful to the society, but at least don't be of nuisance to the society. Now, that itself is a contribution from our side. Now, there is only one kind of discipline. Army is known for discipline. With that, I am telling you, with that experience I am telling you, there is only one kind of discipline. You tell me what is that? That is self-discipline. No other discipline can be sustained. Every time you will have to have the feeling that you have to do it yourself, your mother is watching, God is watching, I will not do it. Then only it will survive. My advice to the youngsters particularly, don't boast of anything which you have not earned with your own hard work. I'll give you an example. I am a colonel today, retired colonel today. Yes, I will boast of because I undergone tough training, served in various places. I am MBA, first rank holder. Yes, I will boast of. But then I am 6 feet tall. Can I boast? What is my contribution of getting 6 feet tall? I am very handsome and white, complex. Can I boast? No, because what is your contribution in getting the white skin and your, whatever? Why I am insisting on this point is because when you look at a fellow who is darker than you, who got curly hairs, who is shorter than you, then after all, tell me one thing. Suppose you are 5 feet tall. You put a 5 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches heel in the shoes, and you try to look as if you are 6 feet tall. Whom are you trying to fool? Remember, you can't fool two people. One is yourself, one is God. See, if you are short, you know it, your husband, wife know it, your parents know it. Then for whom you are trying to increase your height? I am not saying that you don't use all those things, but I am saying don't boast. So that don't look down on anybody who is not as privileged as you. And I am convinced on one thing. Your personality should not be decided the dress you wear. I am wearing Louis Philippe. I am wearing Park Avenue. That should not be. Your personality is the one, or your conduct. Your contribution in society should decide your personality rather than your dress or your looks or something. Let that be very clear. And my final word, be happy with what you have. There is no question of disappointment. I don't have disappointment in my dictionary at all. What I mean by saying be happy with what you have, like I had a serious accident in 1994. My right leg got thoroughly damaged and crushed. You tell me, and now also I walk with a lot of limp. I have a lot of problem in standing. I am standing now for this long because of this, battery which is pushing me to stand and speak to you. Now, I am telling, should I cry to God or cry to myself that my right leg got crushed? Or should I thank God for sparing my left leg, my 2 eyes, 2 ears, mouth, my 2 hands and everything? I am telling you, I never cried. In fact, I feel happy that I had a serious accident, because that accident has taught me many things which university don't teach you. I know I have become a better human being after the accident. I am thanking him. If somebody asks me what is the best thing happened to you in your life, it is this accident. Long hospitalization. I can now understand the pain of others. So what I am saying is that be happy with what you have. You heard about Wilma Rudolph, who was born among 22 children of her parents, and she was affected with the polio. She couldn't even walk till 12 years, 13 years or something. She was walking only with braces. And she went on to become the sprint queen in 1956 and 60 Rome Olympics. She got 3 sprint gold medals in those days. What are we talking about? You heard about S.R. Krishnamurti, who is a singer, who was born without all the 4 limbs. No 2 hands, no 2 legs. He is 75 years old now. He is in Coimbatore. He got some Padma Shri. He is Sangeeta Kalanidhi. He shaves every day. He goes up to his first floor. You know how? He rolls. He takes out a blade and put it on the slot which is in the wall, and he shaves every day. What drives him? And he went to Abdul Kalam's, when he visited Coimbatore, he went to visit Abdul Kalam, and later on Abdul Kalam has written in his book, S.R. Krishnamurti is one of the 2 people who really inspired him. I don't know who is the first one, but S.R. Krishnamurti inspired him. We all get inspired by Abdul Kalam, and S.R. Krishnamurti inspired Abdul Kalam. Now, that's what it is. So, in this world, ladies and gentlemen, nothing is useless. It may be useless for you, it may be useful. We have Pencil Man with us. He is very famous for this. He is a dear friend of mine. He collects this so-called useless thing and give it to somebody who finds it useful. Now, no one is small. Your character should decide your personality, not reputation. Reputation is what you think. You all think Padmanabhan is a big man, great man. I know what I am. That is what is character. So remain clear. Try to build up your character, not your reputation, because that won't survive. Before I conclude, I know I have exceeded a little bit of time. I just want to ask the people here that is there any question answer session, or can I conclude? Thanks. Already. Okay, I conclude by complimenting IC. Now let me conclude by complimenting ICAI Dubai chapter for arranging such a wonderful celebration in Dubai on this Independence Day and giving me this opportunity. Let's all remain true and worthy children of our Mother India. Jai Hind.